like a boss from mama to office. We got this, we got this, we got this. Tell the whole world watch out. 'Cause baby, we got this, we got this. You wanna know what she said, she said. She might just change your life. Listen to what she said, because she might be right.
And joining us now is Peter Shurman, a former MPP broadcaster and author who's becoming fascinated with the study of millennials. Welcome, Peter.
Good to see you.
So today we're talking about a couple of things. One of them is what you call the brave new world.
The brave new world, which is a world that is forming as a result of what's called exponential technology. Example, if you remember, not very long ago, about less than 20 years ago, there was a company that owned the world of photography called Eastman Kodak. Doesn't exist anymore.
No.
How's that? They invented the digital camera that we all use.
Big mistake.
Other people developed it. And they went out of business because there's no market for film anymore or developing paper or any of that. And you're seeing the same thing in the taxi industry with Uber. And you're seeing the same thing with hotels, for example, where Airbnb has more rooms available in the world than any hotel chain, but they don't own any of them. So all of this is happening, and it's happening before our eyes.
What does this mean in terms of job prospects and education for our children? What do we need to be mindful of?
It means that we have to be very careful about what the jobs are going to be. You can't just say, I want to be pick a trade, plumber, doctor, whatever it happens to be. Although those are bad examples because we're always going to need them.
We need them.
But I'm going to be a taxi driver. Well, I don't know. You know, there was a time when you made a lot of money doing that. Or I'm going to own a store that sells, fill in the blank. Could have been the soda shop on the corner 25 years ago. There's no soda shop on the corner anymore. Could have been a family restaurant. Well, those are all chains now. Could be a clothing store, but in the States, they're developing new chain retail like bag, borrow, and steal, where you rent your clothes because millennials are looking to be smartly dressed all the time, so they'd rather rent an outfit for every Saturday night. So you have to look ahead and say, what's going to be popular? And there's a bit of research involved. There's also a bit of magic in being a soothsayer and saying, here's what's going to be number one.
So why are you using the expression Brave New World, which, you know, I'm old enough to have read Brave New World and Aldous Huxley, which was really a sort of a tongue-in-cheek shot at all the utopian Jules Verne kind of novels,
and it was about a world where essentially, without using the word cloning, babies were made in bottles and they had characteristics that were preordained, and it took place around 2500 AD, so somewhere about 500 years in the future. And we could technically do that now if we wanted to. Point is, we've reached this utopia, if you even believe that that's what dystopia is probably the better word, if we're to coin a phrase from today, where we could do what Aldous Huxley talked about. And in fact, things are moving so fast that we're in danger that maybe we will.
But do you see it more dystopian or utopian?
I think it's a mixture. I can't answer that question with a definitive one way or the other. I think that things are moving fast, and that makes it dystopian because we don't know how to manage what's going on. I read a story this very morning about the fact that there just is no way to control security, cybersecurity, so that people who run big companies are paying ransom to get releases on software that's been locked by people who want to claim it from them. Right. If this is so utopian that we can manage everything digitally, how is it that there's always somebody who can lock up the most sophisticated software? So that's the dystopian part, but the fact that we can put the information in the first place is the utopian part.
Well, I was listening to a story this morning about a car company where you rent a car and there's no parking, and people are fighting over where they should park. And people are arguing, well, this car can replace 20 cars on the road. So maybe things like climate change and having green areas and parking lots disappearing for parks, et cetera, that's all something that we can't anticipate exactly. It's not a guarantee, but it could happen.
It could. Take it a step further. 2018 is the first model year that most of the major car companies are going to release the first self-driving cars. 2018. This is 2016. So we're not talking about a long time in the future. We're talking about a period of 24 months. We're going to start being able to buy these things. So if take it a step further. You've got self-driving cars. You've got Uber. Uber buys a fleet of self-driving cars. You use your app. A self-driving car picks you up. You do your work while you're being driven to where you have to go. You get out. You don't pay because it goes on your credit card or your credit stream, however you pay. And that's the whole 9 yards. So who needs a car anymore? What does that mean? It means we might have houses without garages because we don't need them. What does it mean for gas station companies? Well, we're going to be using electric cars, so gas station properties might be developed into condos. So how many parking spaces are we going to need for these small cars, zip cars, and car2go and so forth?
All right, so that is in the immediate future, as you said, less than 2 years away. But while the future may look bright that way, we're seeing a lot of upheaval politically and
Huge.
socially. So are people giving up on how things used to be and just rolling the dice?
I think people are internally freaking out.
Okay.
If you want me to just lay it on the line.
I do.
I think that at this point, if there are seemingly disconnected events happening around the world, you could, and I connect them. Arab Spring would be one. This may seem far-fetched. The rise of Donald Trump, the Brexit vote, the election of Justin Trudeau, Occupy movement. All of these things seem unrelated, but they're connected. And how they're connected is we've got a world that is full of people, largely millennials, but even the rest of us, saying, you know what? I have tried to live by the rules, and I have tried to follow what I was told to follow for my entire life, and it's not working. So I'm going to pick some other way, and I don't really give a damn. Let the chips fall where they may. And so you say, how come the choice in the States, for example, right now, everybody's talking about it, is Hillary Clinton, who people feel is, I'll use a nice phrase, ethically challenged, and Donald Trump, who seems like he's ready to go off the edge if he hasn't indeed done so already. What a choice.
Yeah, but the millennials went for Bernie Sanders.
The millennials went for Bernie Sanders because they wanted something that was highly socialistic, and he used the word socialist. And the thing that you have to know is that millennials don't see socialism in the same way that people over 40 see socialism. Our socialism goes back to the days of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and totalitarian rule. Bernie Sanders' socialism is what we view as social liberalism that we practice here in Canada. It's same-sex marriage. It's marijuana being legal. It's making abortion the right of choice on the part of the woman who is pregnant. All of those things are already embedded here. Conservatism in the States doesn't recognize those things, and socialism in the States is what Bernie Sanders is preaching vis-a-vis all of those issues.
Let me ask you, do you think governments and politicians are going to be able to respond at the speed that millennials want this change?
No, they're not. And it's not going to be. Millennials are now about 18 to 35, 18 to 38, if I'm to be absolutely accurate about it. So that's the years where the most significant aspects of your life as it's going to be lived right through to death are being formed. And they want something different. They're not shaking the tree. It's not like a generation gap in the sense that my generation or your generation went through it. It's just a different view of how the world works. Like the aggregation of stuff. My generation bought a lot of stuff. We had to have 2 cars. We had to have a 4,000-foot house. We had to have 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. We're talking about a generation that is starting out life with a 400-foot condo and a locker. How much stuff can you aggregate? We're talking about a generation that believes in experiential living. In other words, they want to buy a trip with their money instead of a thing, so they can look forward to the trip and take pictures of the trip and FaceTime from the trip and post it on Instagram and come back and relive it. Those are the things that millennials are valuing versus what we value, which is, I don't know, 5 more flat screens.
Okay, so you have a book. Tell us about the book and how to get the book, because I'm sure a lot of people want to read so they understand what's going on around them.
Sure. The book is Millennials Boom or Bust. And if you can't remember or figure out how to spell that title, just check out my name, Shurman, on Amazon.ca or Chapters, and it's available as an ebook.
And are you in the midst of writing another one?
I have another one in my head. I'm occupying myself in the writing sphere with some things people might want to do a search on in HuffPost.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Peter Shurman, as always, a pleasure to have you in, just for your fabulous radio voice.
Good to be with you, Kate.
Thank you.
Good to be with you, Christine.
And when we come back, a mompreneur who has taken her company to the next level and has some tips for moms for both business and work-life balance. This is what she said, and